Hey there, I'm John Weatherly, Associate Pastor at Twin City Bible Church. Welcome to the Bible Read Along program. We're glad you're doing the E100 plan. This plan involves 100 texts carefully selected from the entire Bible. Each is a chapter or two in length. Half come from the Old Testament, half come from the New Testament. They'll give you an overview and highlights of the entire Bible. So whether you're new to the Bible or have been reading it a long time, you can get a better picture of the big story. Now, you can do this on any schedule you like. You can do it daily, and if so, you'll be done obviously in 100 days. If you did 5 days a week, on average, you would be done in about 20 weeks. If you do 2 days a week, well, you'll be able to do this over the whole year, and that may make it very digestible for you. Each reading takes 5 to 15 minutes, depending on your reading speed and the length. So it's a commitment, but it's not an overwhelming commitment. And for each unit of 5 readings, we're going to provide a video like this to help you understand what you're going to be reading and anticipate what's going on and stay on track. I want to encourage you as you're doing this program to read with openness and curiosity. Don't expect to understand everything. This is like practice. And in practice, you make mistakes and you learn from those mistakes, but you get better over time. So we're practicing reading the Bible, and you will gain a better picture of the Bible as a whole from doing this. I guarantee it if you stay with it. You can't help but do that. Set aside your expectations and preconceptions as you do. We tend to ask questions that are framed out of our modern experience and out of our teaching in the church, and sometimes those actually kind of interfere with our reading of the Bible. Now, many of them are fine, but if we kind of consciously set them aside, we can understand these texts better. Imagine yourself as a part of the time and place where these texts were written. The Bible was written for all of us, but it was written to the ancient people of Israel for the Old Testament and the followers of Jesus for the New Testament. So imagine yourself as one of those people living 2,000-3,000 years ago or more in a very different world, but with human beings who are very much like you and me. Look for the big picture. And that's really the aim of this whole program. We can summarize this big picture in 6 words, all beginning with C, that I'll give to you now. The Bible starts with God's creation of the world. And that's going to be the special focus of this first unit. It moves on to corruption of the world that comes from human rebellion. Humans rebel against God, and as a result, they and the world they live in fall from the state of goodness that God had created them with. We then go to covenant. God doesn't leave the world in its fallen condition, but promises to make it right again. That covenant then is fulfilled in Christ. And now we're talking about the New Testament, which will show us how Christ fulfills God's promises and begins to make the world right with his life, his death, and his resurrection. Then we move to church, the fifth world, the followers of Jesus, empowered by Christ to continue the work that he has begun in the world. And finally, we come to completion. The work of God is completed not just by you and me, but when Christ returns and makes everything right and we experience the fullness of God's reign. So that's our overview. Now in Unit 1, this is entitled In the Beginning, and these are 5 readings from the first 11 chapters of Genesis that tell us what the world is, who we are, what our problem is, and what God is going to do about it. And so we see God has made a very good world and put humans in it to live as his vice-regents, to care for the world under his guidance and with trust in him. But when their trust is tested, well, they fail and they rebel against him. And so in that state of rebellion, they bring a curse upon the world, but a curse which God promises to correct. The seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. Well, humans are going to continue to fail. Cain and Abel are going to fail. Noah is going to fail, even though God does a kind of a do-over with him. Well, the do-over doesn't work. And by the way, that's no surprise to God, but it shows us something that's going on. And humans are going to show their rebellion at the Tower of Babel, where they try to establish an empire by which they can make a name for themselves, probably oppress other people. And in that, we're going to see how that breaks out into nothing other than confusion and hostility as they become tribal and their languages are confused. So we see the nations raging against each other. Well, that's the description of the beginning and the problem. In Unit 2, we'll then see how God begins the solution.